So Tim, we've been picking on you, bro, about writing off Buffalo so quick. We've been picking on you, man. Look, me and Chase had good reasons why we were kind of sold on Buffalo. It just didn't. Jay, did it not feel like it was Buffalo's time to feel like that they can run the table?
It felt like it. It really did from all the change that they made it on offense and stuff. But it kind of feels like I know we were picking at Tim a little bit, but Tim, are you the Stephen A. Smith for the Bills? Like, what's going on?
Me with the Bills, they have their sparks. They have their, unfortunately, their choke points. Kind of reminds me of the 1988 playoffs against the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Bills and Jim Kelly and Bruce Smith. The Bills never did anything during that time period. Yeah, they went to a lot of Super Bowls and championships and playoff games, but how many Super Bowls did they win? Now,
I mean,
I
they
know this
won.
is
They
not
didn't win any, but go ahead, sorry.
right, but I know this is not the 1988 Buffalo Bills team. And I think Josh Allen is very talented. He's a linebacker playing quarterback. He likes to run the ball. You don't know what he's going to do. He's got a good arm, but his turnovers is hurting big time this year. They started off good, then they fizzled, and then they went back on that mountain again. But that mountain was gonna that mountain
They
was
were
gonna
an up and down
crash.
team all year.
Yeah,
They really were. But like the thing is, I didn't think that Kansas City was doing anything special that whole entire game. That game was literally
no,
Buffalo's to win. But at the end of the day, you know what? It was a great game. You know what I mean? But
Well,
you
and
know,
it was a great
yeah.
game. It was a good game. I was rooting for the Bills, believe it or not, because I'm sick of the Chiefs.
yeah,
I'm sick of tired of
I think
Taylor
we all.
Swift.
Yeah,
I'm
every
I'm
catch that Travis Kelsey made, they pan the camera, Taylor
yeah.
Swift,
Oh yeah,
and
what's Taylor doing? Yeah, I don't care what Taylor's doing. I don't care what she's doing. But you know what I
yeah.
must say? This Sunday, go Ravens.
Oh,
Oh, see, we're gonna talk about that because we're gonna have some differences of opinion, bro. But anyways, let's get started with the show. Welcome to the Run Into the Jungle show. I'm your host, Justin Lacey. Got my boy Tim Lyons and Chase Johnson in the building here. Fortunately, we don't got B Dirt Brandon Herriott with us today. He is handling some business, doing some work duties and stuff. So he'll join us obviously in the next episode in the days to come. So how you guys doing today, man? We kind of got a little bit off track talking about the divisional round and whatnot. But Tim, I had to give you a little bit of props there. Again, I'm not mad for picking Buffalo to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, but like I had to give you your respect. You know what I mean? You called it. There's
Yeah,
a reason why you folded on Buffalo. So, but how you doing today? Otherwise, man.
I'm doing great. It's almost Friday. It's Hump Day, so looking forward to the weekend and looking for some division or some championship AFC and NFC games this weekend.
Yeah, same here, man. And Chase, for those that haven't got a chance to watch our episodes of the AFC and NFC championship previews, definitely go and check that out on the Cut to the Chase network here because, we go in depth. So today we're not going to go super in depth when it comes to the coverages of the conference championship, but we are going to discuss about it because there are some thoughts out there, within Bengal Nation. But other than that, man, Chase, how you feeling, bro?
I'm doing good, man. Just had a class get canceled, so I'm chilling off of that. Went to a girls' basketball game, got some Chick-fil-A. I'm giving you the whole rundown, man. I'm feeling pretty good right now. I'm feeling nice, full, ready to talk some Bengals football. Feel me?
Mm.
Bro, you know what would make it so sick, bro, for UC basketball or even for a girl like we're in Cincinnati chasing our
Yeah.
if Iowa were to come to town Because Caitlin
Man,
Clark, bro, she is lighting everybody on fire, bro, with her presence. And I just feel like that will turn the whole entire girls brigade, the city up if they see her come to town, play at UC, play at Xavier, whatever. A lot of people will be in attendance for that game because she's kind of becoming a national phenomenon, bro.
Oh, she is, man. I mean, she was hooping at Ohio State. I know they lost, and I know the whole thing happened where she ran into, the one girl that was running on the court and all that stuff. She flopped. Caitlin Clark flopped, but Creighton Clark's still a good basketball player. That's all I got to say on that situation.
Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. was at that game too, man. So
he got some big lips, man. I just said he looked like a duck. I love Marvin, but he looked like a duck, though. I ain't gonna lie.
That's how I noticed him, bro. He got like the biggest lips. You can just spot it out. Look, bro, Marvin Harrison Jr., man, we love you, bro. If you ever get a chance to listen to this show, first of all, it'll be an honor for you to listen to the show. But, dude, you got some big pink lips, bro, and it just stands out in a large crowd, dog. That's how I know he was in attendance. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my God. All right. But we got some Bengals stuff to talk about because some congratulations are – I can't stop thinking about it. I'm sorry, guys.
Hey, man.
All right. Now that the laughs are almost out, some congratulations are in order for our very young coaching staff on the Cincinnati Bengals. So, first and foremost, man, we got to congratulate Brian Callahan and Dan Pitcher. Brian Callahan, as we already know, he finalized the deal with the Tennessee Titans to become their new head coach. Dan Pitcher has obviously replaced him as of about an hour and a half ago, that he has signed on to become the Bengals offensive coordinator, which that was a move that was widely predicted. But
yeah,
I'm really ecstatic, and I'm really happy for both guys. Brian Callahan, I'll give my quick thoughts, and Chase and Tim, you can go over with your quick thoughts. But I thought that Brian Callahan, let me just be for real, I thought he was kind of average. He didn't really call plays. But the more and more that I kept affiliating myself with his role on a team, the more that calling plays is really an overrated aspect when it comes to being an offensive coordinator. He is really great at collaborating and working well with Zach Taylor, Dan Pitcher, all these guys, the quarterback, obviously Joe Burrow, his weapons. He is really good at understanding the role that he has, and he's developed a strong hand in game planning so much that when adjustment needs to be made, he's there to help make adjustments. He's also doing everything that he possibly can to kind of set a high standard or embark on a high standard that we've done so far in these last few years of us winning. And yes, he is a product of us winning so much. I think that the Cincinnati Bengals have put out a short little clip of video with Brian Callahan talking about, those interviews were going to come and his opportunities was going to come. Well, it happened to come today for him. He'll have a great opportunity with the Tennessee Titans. He'll work alongside Will Levis, I think that he'll be a pretty good young quarterback, in future years to come. Even next year's early on. He showed some pretty good flashes, during this season. So it obviously didn't end any good. It didn't end how they wanted to. And they're going to be shape-shifting that organization and coaching staff. But nonetheless, man, Brian Callahan, I'm just really excited for his opportunity. And Dan Pitcher, hey, look, man, I'm kind of happy that he's been announced soon before we jumped on the mic, because I did not want to come on this show talking about, well, could the Bengals go out there with Joe Brady? Doing this offensive coordinator today. What is his background? What was the guy that the Bengals interviewed, the offensive line coach from the Seahawks with the big fro?
Yeah, I don't know what his name is, but I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
It was a nice little hairstyle, but but we all knew that Dan Pitcher was the guy. Let me stop talking because I've introduced this segment enough. I'm just very happy for him, but I'm gonna let you guys have the floor here.
You got it, Tim.
Okay. Yeah, I was I surprised that Callahan got the job with Tennessee? Kind of yes, actually, because with the way that our team is ran, Zach's the one calling the offense. But even though Brian, he draws up the offense and gets all the offensive game plans going, spends a lot of time with Joe Burrow and Tyler Boyd and Chase and all those guys and T. Higgins, but I was actually kind of I was happy for him. I was happy for him. You know, not only am I happy for Brian Callahan, but I'm happy for the Cincinnati Bengals organization because, it proves that even though we're not, yeah, we went to the Super Bowl, we went to the AFC Championship last year, then we had a tough season this year, and it gives Brian Callahan kudos, and saying, he's doing what he needs to do. And I'm excited to see what the Titans are going to bring because, they are losing Derrick Henry possibly. They do have Will Levis, which is, a weird guy, but, he's a not bad quarterback. But I was actually, like I said, the reason why I was surprised was because I was expecting Lou to get a head coaching position. But once our defense kind of went downhill, then that was kind of like, okay. But then they were like, oh, Brian Callahan's interviewing for this position, for this team and this team and this team. I was like, whoa, good. Good for him. But I'm also, another reason why I'm happy for the Bengals organization is because now we're going to get a new offensive coordinator in here. Now, what is our offense going to evolve into?
Yeah, that's a big thing. And first off with Brian Callahan, I mean, congrats to them. That's huge going over to Tennessee and all. And another underlying factor is that he's bringing his dad, Bill Callahan, from the Cleveland Browns to come down to Tennessee. And Bill Callahan is one of the best offensive line coaches in the National Football League and maybe of all time. So, I mean, he kind of did a little insider work right there and take him out of the division, which is all good. But nonetheless, and then Dan Pitcher stepping in as the offensive coordinator. I'm excited to see because, back before the AFC Championship last year, Joe Burrow was asked a question in his press conference about, his relationship with Dan Pitcher. And, he was talking about it's a really good work relationship that they have going on. And, they were to bounce ideas off each other and be pretty open about, play calls, all this other stuff. And, Dan Pitcher knows Joe Burrow as well as anybody would, from the coaching staff. So it'll be nice to see. Hopefully they're able to, from Tim's trademark, run the damn ball, a little bit more effectively. That would be nice. But I'm excited to see what flair that Dan Pitcher, has on the Cincinnati Bengals going forward, in the season. And then another thing, so in the week 2 broadcast against the Baltimore Ravens for Cincinnati Bengals, they mentioned that Brian Callahan, Zach Taylor, and Lou Anarumo, the offensive coordinator, defense coordinator, and head coach, they were all together for 5 years. All right. There had been no team at that time frame to have the same head coach, OC, and DC for more than 3 years. And the Bengals had them for a half decade. That's crazy. A half decade's gone by. But Brian Callahan, I think a big reason why he was able to get a head coaching job, obviously the success of Joe Burrow over the last couple of years, but really the success of Jake Browning also kind of got, it might have been able to be like, well, it's not just having a great quarterback in Joe Burrow that he's, maybe, not calling the plays, but like all this other stuff. But then also having Jake Browning step in there and then go on a run like that and have Jake Browning play well in a lot of these games. I mean, they're putting that to him. So, I mean, I think an underlying factor is the success that Jake Browning had as a Cincinnati Bengal is a potential aspect and part of why Brian Callahan got some head coaching opportunities, and now he's down in Nashville, and we'll see him this year in Nashville again, like our annual trip.
Yeah, that'll be a fun like little combo meeting when we do meet the Tennessee Titans next year in Nashville with him on the other side, because I'm like genuinely happy for him. So the large part, personally, I agree with everything that you guys just said, but let's just be honest here. Joe Burrow's the one that got him jobs. He really did. Okay.
Yeah.
And yes, I do ultimately agree with the Jake Browning take there too, because I think that's what solidified that, he really is that guy that can kind of help, elevate the things if he needed to, create game plans to kind of help string along weaknesses. But the core of it was Joe Burrow. Yeah. This doesn't work without him. The double-edged sword about keeping the coaching staff together, and I think my theory is because people have not been really familiar with the Bengals organization. They look at it as this coaching staff was there when 2019, when Zach Taylor first got there. They went 2-14. Joe Burrow was a rookie. Obviously, he had the knee injury, but they went 4-11-1. If I'm not mistaken, that was the record.
Yep.
But it was not a good first couple of years. Then Joe Burrow gets healthy, and then they took him to the Super Bowl and comes back. But people still just couldn't believe that Joe, like they didn't really. I feel like they didn't really believe in the coaching staff that the Bengals had. They just thought like, oh, this is all Joe Burrow, kind of like oh, it was all Peyton Manning during those Colts years and stuff. Because when you think about it, none of the Colts offensive coordinators during the Manning years got head coaching jobs. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. Howard Mudd, no. Pep Hamilton, no. Like I didn't think if there was a lot of guys that from that Tony Dungy, Jim Mora coaching tree. Jim Caldwell was an assistant coach that was promoted from Tony Dungy's retirement. None of those guys got head coaching jobs for real. Adam Gase is the only one that comes close to mind, but he was in Denver when that happened. But nonetheless, like I just felt like that people really just was leery about trusting anybody, not necessarily Lou Anarumo, but like on the offensive staff to trust them. Like, oh well, should we cherry pick this guy? Well, now you're seeing the fruits of the labor going off of now that Burrow was hurt, and you saw what Brandon was able to do. The one I was really worried about was Dan Pitcher getting picked to be an offensive coordinator somewhere else, because I was like, dang, man, they was preparing for this, and now you got only that he's gone, but he might be gone too. But the Bengals actually planned ahead really well by extending him last year because they knew something like this was going to happen this offseason. And again, you got to tip your cap to people like Zach Taylor, Duke Tobin for taking care of their guys, man, ahead of the curve. So, again, man, very congratulatory on both positions. Dan Pitcher, well-deserving of his role. I'm really eager to see what's the next step of his evolution, how he's going to operate a little different when it comes to the game plans on offense. I feel like it might be some things are the same, but more or less it's going to probably be a little different. I truly believe so. And I'm going to be keeping an eye on the Tennessee Titans. They've been kind of like I don't want to call it a rivalry because Burrow's kind of owned them until this past matchup where we were playing bad football. But I'm still going to Brian Callahan has turned me into a watcher of the Titans for next season. So I really want to see. Go ahead.
It's been more of like an annual meeting. You know what I'm saying? Like it's always like, hey, here's a dinner reservation, and you're gonna be here every day on like the 27th. That's kind of what it feels like,
Yeah. I'm excited for it, But that's not the only news that broke the NFL. I mean, we didn't really break the NFL. It broke Bengals Nation. But the real news that broke the NFL literally almost an hour before we jumped on the air, Jim Harbaugh returns to the NFL.
Huge.
He has now been announced, officially signed that he is going to become the head coach of the LA Chargers. I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually excited for Jim Harbaugh in the NFL, man. How about you guys?
Going to be fun.
They're still the Chargers, but that's my whole. That's all. I'm sorry, but they've been defensively stacked for many years, and they choke. Like this year, it was just awful. The years before that, they get beat in the playoffs first round. You're ahead of the Jaguars. What was it? 28-0.
Yeah,
27.
Yeah,
still bad.
Something like that. Whatever the hell it was, and then you lose. It was awful. But I'm excited to see what Jim Harbaugh is going to bring to the Chargers. He's a hardball. Harbaugh's, they're great coaches. They've proven to be great coaches. I just don't want to hear any of that BS about him cheating and spying on people when he was with Michigan. That's over with. He's served his time. He won his national championship. Now let the man continue his career.
Yep. Be interesting to see how everything plays out going forward with what he left at Michigan. But again, this is the National Football League, way different. But the thing that not alarms me, but has me on alert is that the Bengals go to SoFi this year. The first time that they will play in SoFi since they lost Super Bowl against the Rams. They're going to play against Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. And it's going to be a high-profile showdown. We don't know when it's going to be. The schedule is going to be released in May. But, this will be the second meeting between Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. And I will tell you, with the amount of national publicity that the Chargers get, and now with Jim Harbaugh being in there and with Joe Burrow coming back, don't be surprised if this game is put on Sunday or Monday Night Football. All I'm going to say on this.
Well, it could be, but I think that the one they're going to prop up to even higher publicity is when John Harbaugh meets Jim Harbaugh in
That
SoFi when
happens.
the Ravens play the Chargers next year too. You know the Harbaugh Bowl is going to be one juicy matchup for
national.
the media. Like that's going to be a Monday night game.
They might put that week 1. They might do a week 1. You know,
you won't know because if the Ravens do win the Super Bowl,
well, yeah, if they win the Super Bowl, yeah, then it's
then they have
story.
to open up the season on Thursday night at home in Baltimore.
I never
and
said
that game would be in SoFi. No, I don't.
I never said they win, but still, yeah. But it's always something to look at.
But it's going. I feel like I'm really happy for Jim Harbaugh. It's about time that he make his reentry to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what went wrong between him and the Niners during his last stint in the NFL. I thought he was on track to be a successful head coach there. Just give him a little time. But I guess that him and front office just couldn't come. They kept butting heads, and they just had to just part ways. Then obviously a new regime had entered and stuff like that. It took them a while to get back on their feet, but they seem to be doing pretty good now. Because when Jim Harbaugh came into the 49ers at the time that he took over, that 49ers team was a dumpster fire. He turned them around. He made Alex Smith into a better quarterback than what he actually was. He was a bust. Jim Harbaugh comes in there, all of a sudden he's playing good football. And it seems like that similar situations may happen with him inheriting Justin Herbert. Yeah, I'm not really all that sold on their defense, really, because like you said, Tim, they always had a stacked defense. They had names, and names, but none of them can stay healthy. They never can get it together. And they just feel like that every time somebody mentions Joey Bosa as the upper echelon of pass rushers, I always just roll my eyes. It's like, oh my gosh. Look, at this point, Trey Henderson is way better than Bosa. And he's not even better than his little brother, so and that's Nick Bosa, obviously. But other than that, if anybody can really, I think that the Chargers nailed it with this one. I really do. I think it might go well. You know what I mean? Well, am I going to sit there and predict division titles, going into year 1 of Jim Harbaugh? No, I'm not doing that. Okay. You still got Sean Payton in Denver. Andy Reid is still in Kansas City. You can't beat them. And then the Raiders just hired a flashy Antonio Pierce. They're sold on him too. So it's going to be a pretty good division going into next year. But then again, bro, we've been saying this for the last 2 years.
We have been. We definitely have been.
And the Chiefs still run away with it every year, bro.
Every time. And another thing before we move on, like the similarities with, Jim Harbaugh when he came in for the 49ers, he took over for Mike Singletary, who was trying to figure out his way when he was the Niners head coach, which that's still weird looking back on that he was a head coach of a National Football League team. But then again, he took over for him and, was able to change the regime. And he was wildly successful in San Francisco in 4 years. Right. It just happened that the Michigan job was available and it was a high profile job. And they threw a bunch of money at him. And, he's like, oh, I might as well go over there. And then, with the Chargers, he takes over after Brandon Staley, who, again, when he first got in there, how does he have a head coaching job still this long into his tenure? And then Jim Harbaugh takes over and he has a very good quarterback in his hands and receivers and skill positions. So excited to see what happens with Jim Harbaugh in year 1.
Me too, man. And before we continue, what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick little break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about our AFC and NFC championship previews. Because unfortunately, the playoffs are still happening, even though the Bengals are not in it. But we're still going to talk about it. You know what I mean? It's football. So, and I'm happy to continue talking about some football. So we'll be right back. Give a brief little minute, and then we'll be joining you here shortly. All right. Thank you so much for patiently bearing through with us as we laugh our way to this next segment here, because it's been a fun episode so far, guys. If you haven't yet, please like, comment, subscribe, and then hit that bell, those post notifications. Let us know how we doing. I know I've been kind of jabbering off a little bit because it's been a fun day so far for us here on the episode of Run Through the Jungle. But let's talk about some real football, man. We got some football coming up this weekend. It is the AFC and the NFC championships weekend, championship Sunday, as we should basically just call it, because it's not on Saturday and Sunday. But the first thing we're going to obviously talk about is this AFC matchup, man. Chiefs, Ravens. Both teams, let's start with the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens played their asses off all season long, okay? Chase and I had made a nice commentary discussion when we deep dove into this. So again, if you haven't got a chance, please check us out on the Cut to the Chase when we did the AFC Championship and the NFC Championship preview. But the Baltimore Ravens, man, I got to tip my cap to them. They've played like the best team all season long. I didn't want to buy into it. I always thought that they had some fortunate luck. Teams around them in the conference got hurt, and they just pretty much just took advantage of their schedule. But it still doesn't change the fact that their defense played like they were them dogs, and they were always those dogs. And quite frankly, they were playing like that even last year when Lamar wasn't really playing. We're just seeing it now and the fruits of its labor now, so to speak, because Lamar is playing. And because of that, Lamar is getting more shine than he's ever been getting before, even though he has been getting some shine. But he is now the front runner to win the MVP award. I think that is already going to be unanimous, not unanimous, but it's automatically going to be pretty much handed to him now that he's going to win that award. Meanwhile, you got the Kansas City Chiefs, who stumbled and fumbled their way to a 10-7 to a 11-6 season, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was their ending regular season. But they didn't look good all year long. At least on offense, they didn't. Defense, they kind of carried the defensive side of the ball there. They carried that team for a good chunk of the season. But you just know once playoff hit, it's Mahomes, it's Travis Kelce, it's Andy Reid, it's Chris Jones. And they did exactly that. It was really impressive to me of how they're able to still make it this far, just kind of like those Patriot teams of the late 2010s. They reminded me of the 2018 New England Patriots. The Patriots were not that great during the regular season that season. I think they were 11-5. They had lost some games to the back end of that season. Everybody rolled them off like this is the end of the Brady Belichick era. And what do? They go on a nice hot shot run, beating Mahomes in Kansas City in Arrowhead on their way to winning yet Tom Brady and Bill Belichick's sixth Super Bowl against the LA Rams at the times. I mean, they're still LA Rams. So let's talk about this, okay? Because we're going to have some differences of opinion. This is tough for Bengals fans, man. It has been a common theme throughout all of Bengals Twitter. Where's your rooting interest, Tim? I want to start with you on this because you just already kind of gave away your secret in the opening.
Yeah. The thing is everybody, I see the same thing you're seeing. Everybody's like, oh, if you're a Bengals fan, you better be rooting for the Chiefs. Well, the last thing I remember, I'm a grown-ass man, and I can root for whoever in the hell I want to root for. And like I said at the very beginning of the year, the AFC is going to win the Super Bowl. And unfortunately for everybody else, the AFC North is going to win the Super Bowl. I don't care what you say. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, that defense, they've been playing outstanding football. They've had injuries. Mark Andrews has been out since the Bengals game. They got OBJ, they got Zay Flowers, they got Gus the Bus Edwards, and then that defense, Roquan Smith, Patrick McQueen. That defense is the damn defense of the AFC. They built that defense to beat. What's that?
It's Patrick Queen, by the way. You said Patrick McQueen.
Oh, all right, Patrick Queen. But they built that defense to beat Joe Burrow and the Bengals. That's exactly what they did. And it is proven to beat every team that they've gone against. Look what they did to the 49ers. Look what they did to the freaking Cowboys. Look what they did to the Eagles too that they beat the hell out of too?
No, they didn't play the Eagles or the Cowboys, but they did play the Dolphins.
I'm sorry, the Dolphins.
Yeah, they hung 50 points on the Dolphins.
Yeah,
that was a beatdown. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
The thing is with the Ravens is they've been riding that horse all year long. Yeah, they got beat by the Colts and they got beat by the Steelers. And then they lost against the Steelers against the JV team. Okay, who cares about that? I don't care. Nobody counts that stuff. But the Ravens are going to win on Sunday against the Chiefs. I think they have the formula to beat Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, he's got Jason Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco, and what's that new rookie wide receiver's name?
Rashee
Rice. Right. And he's got Rice. Other than that, he's got trash cans he's throwing to. That offensive line has been having all kinds of problems. If I remember correctly, one of the offensive linemen for the Chiefs is going to be out on Sunday as well. So what do you think
Joe
that those Tooney, what do you think those rabid dogs on the Ravens defense is going to do to that offensive line? I'm sorry. I might be a Bengals fan, but I'm rooting for the Ravens. Ravens are going to win. Regardless if we're Bengals fans, they're part of the AFC North. You know what? I hope they win. I'm tired of the Chiefs. I'm tired of Taylor Swift. Let's go Ravens, like I said before, and I'll say it again.
You know, like Justin tweeted out. Sorry, Justin tweeted out a couple days ago. It was like the Ravens, and they used to be that cool cousin that you could hoop against. You could do just that cool cousin that's always around. Is like like we'll battle a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's all cool and stuff. And even back then, used to root for him. At times here and there, like we talked about it on the Cuts of the Chase. So, these be that. There was a time where over the snap of a finger, a man named Lamar Jackson came in, and a lot of Bengals fans, I wouldn't say I think a lot of Bengals fans like Lamar Jackson as a player, but they hate that he's with the Baltimore Ravens, and Lamar Jackson has basically changed his whole thing for the Ravens and their, the stigma, all that stuff. You can say that for the Bengals as well with Joe Burrow, but I mean, it's just go check out Twitter for that. But in this matter, I know that the Chiefs are a big rival of ours, but the last time I checked, they're not in the AFC North. And, I know that we have differences. Tim, you're rooting for the AFC North to win the Super Bowl, represent all that stuff. I'm saying, hell nah, I don't want them to do anything. I don't. That's personally me, because if you want to call me a hater, yeah, sure, go on ahead. I don't care. But to say the least, I mean, again, if the Chiefs are to pull this game off, that's where all the questions and everything else arise. This should be the Ravens game to win. This is the Ravens game to win. If they win, it's like, okay, they were the best team in the league this entire season. They move on to Super Bowl. The Chiefs, how'd they get there? It's a miracle they got to the AFC Championship if they end up losing. But then if the Chiefs win, you ask the questions about Mahomes. Is he one of the greatest of all time? And, does he really have a true rival? And then you go back to the drawing board for Lamar Jackson. You're like, dude can't get over the hump, all this stuff. And I want to see the chaos happen in that regard because, I like Lamar Jackson, but I dislike the Baltimore Ravens a lot more than what I used to. So, am I going to put hate aside? No, I'm not putting hate aside. I hate both of these teams. I don't like them at all. But, one team we play twice a year, and that one team chanting on Thursday Night Football, man, F Joe Burrow. Nah, I can't. That's not gonna slide, man. That's a cake bake for you next season. So, yeah, the Ravens, man, they lose. If you want to do the Taylor Swift propaganda, that's completely fine. I'm gonna just put some earplugs in and just keep it going. But find me in a blank space. I don't even care. I'm in a trance right now.
That's just hate, just pure.
Oh my
hate.
God!
I think it is, and I'll put it out there. It's pure. I think it's pure hate. But
pure hate.
Hey,
and
this scenario,
and I 100% feel the same way. But the thing is like I told you guys at the beginning of the year, or the beginning of the playoffs, I'm rooting for the AFC North. I don't care what we had. We had 3 teams in the playoffs. 3. It could have been 4 if things would have went better. But we had 3 teams in the playoffs, and I was rooting for them. I was rooting for them.
I respect that you're not going back on anything. I respect that from your standpoint, and from my standpoint, from the start of the playoffs, we had 3 teams get in. I wasn't rooting for a damn team in this division, so I'm gonna keep going. So, hey, I respect your stance on it. That you're gonna stand on business, as they say. But I'm gonna stand on business on this side and be like, I don't want the Ravens to win. I want the NFC to win Super Bowl. I think we all do. We want the NFC to win Super Bowl, but well, obviously we're fans. We're people in the business. We'll see what happens.
So I'm one of those individuals that, yes, Chase, you and I are on one accordance with this one here. as far as like rooting interests go. However, this doesn't necessarily entail that we wish bad things would happen and stuff, to the Ravens or
I'm
the
not
Chiefs for
saying.
that matter.
Yeah.
With that being said, we applaud the success that the Kansas City Chiefs have had.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Huge,
it's
great deal of respect for
frustrating.
both. Yeah.
Yeah, man, they were great before we even got there. And
Yeah.
Lamar did get his MVP before Joe got there, respectfully.
Yep.
But what I'm tired of also seeing is basically the lack of respect coming from the Ravens fan base and other people probably within the organization, based in the pure jealousy and hatred of the Bengals because of what we've done the last 2 years. And that's the thing that really kind of grinds my gears more when it comes to these two teams matching up. At the very least, the Chiefs acknowledge us that, hey, credit to Cincinnati, man. They've been beating us pretty bad. They've been beating us, here and there, man. We haven't beaten them yet. And it's stuff. And let me be honest, the only real reason why the Chiefs talk crazy as much as they do is because of us, because of how we started with the whole Burrowhead conversation, which I personally did not like. I'm just be upfront. The
Yeah.
Burrowhead comment, the mayor making that comment,
The
that was
mayor took it
stupid.
for me. The mayor took it for me,
He
man.
he did. Like, it
Yep.
was funny and a little bit for the fans to kind of be like, but as soon as the mayor posted that video, we
Man.
were like, ugh, okay, now
Yeah.
it's no longer funny, because believe it or not, that did give the Chiefs extra motivation to beat us. And we didn't play great that game. The Chiefs defense, they played much more with fire in intensity. And yeah, we still almost won. But it was one of those games where I felt like that, yeah, this is not going to end well. This is not going to be our day. Even when we fought back, I just still felt like that wasn't our day. The Ravens, on the other hand, never really had our number. But yeah, you got Ravens fans and Lamar fans talking about, well, Lamar's 8-1 against the Bengals. And I don't got time to be going back and forth over every matchup. All I know is that when Burrow came in there, things started changing. And I still feel like that to this day. Burrow conveniently avoided the Bengals' best teams because he was dealing with injuries, so to speak. But when we all know that was because of his contract talk. But now that he's back, and then we have our adversity that struck our team with our injuries and stuff. Again, I'm not saying for the Ravens fans to feel sorry for us, nor am I saying for the Ravens to feel sorry for us, because guess what? Nobody really felt sorry for them the last couple of years when they went through their stuff.
Mhm.
So why would they feel sorry for the rest of the league too? Again, more power to them. They took advantage of a much more pathway, easier laid out schedule. And I do respect the tough grittiness of the AFC North. I really do.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, Chase, the minute that I heard that F Joe Burrow when he got, hurt, and it's like Joe Burrow came with class. You know what I mean? It ain't like that the Ravens
Yeah,
knocked
to
him out of the game. Like,
mention week 7, 2021, the time where Lamar Jackson
oh
ain't come
yeah,
out to shake Joe Burrow's hand.
didn't even shake his
The
hand,
the
bro.
one time that Joe Burrow has beaten Lamar Jackson. Let me add one more. I don't want to be a
I'm
hater.
just gonna
Let me add
drink my
one.
beer and shut up.
Go. Hey, let me add this real quick though. All right. One more thing. In the time that those two have played against each other, when both guys are on the field, Lamar is a +2 in scoring against Joe Burrow when it comes to both teams. So I don't know where the owning comes in, but that's, again, different story for a different time. Continue.
One thing I want to say is this is, I don't give a crap what these quarterbacks, are against certain teams and all this other stuff. If Lamar has owned the Bengals, he's 8-1.
Yeah.
Who gives a crap? Because in the end, it takes two teams to play a game. And whether if you win or lose, there's always next season. Joe Burrow will be back. All I got to say is you're welcome, AFC, for Joe Burrow getting hurt when he did.
Because if he wasn't, again,
Yeah.
we're not in the conference championship.
We not.
We can play the wolf scenario all we want to.
Yep.
Respectfully, it is the Chiefs and Ravens going at it, and obviously us Bengal fans talking because we had some nasty games between these two teams that's butting heads with each other.
Very.
But all that aside, all the Bengal hating aside and stuff like that, these two teams played really good football down the stretch. They deserve to be here.
Yep.
And you can't set it up even better than what it is. I don't think it was going to get more luster if it was Josh Allen and the Bills being happy to get past Kansas City and they have to go to Baltimore. No, I don't think it would have captured that luster and that magic, even though Lamar Jackson, I don't think, has yet to beat Josh Allen yet. But nonetheless, Patrick Mahomes is the new standard of the NFL, and everybody knows it. Like everybody's measuring their success to his. And
Yep.
Lamar Jackson even said in his podium, he has to go against Patrick Mahomes, but in order to be a champion, you got to beat the champion. So ultimately, I think we're in one agreement that this does feel like this is the Ravens' game to win. It just does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that they're scared of the Chiefs. It doesn't feel like that they're looking at this with the big, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. They're two-time Super Bowl champions. They got Patrick Mahomes, two-time Super Bowl MVP. They looking at it like, dude, we've been playing football better than you. It almost like that they implored the same mentality, and maybe this is an AFC North thing, but they've implored the same mentality. You got to come to our house. You got to play us, dog. Last time you played us in week 2 of 2021, we beat y'all, and we wasn't even really at our best that night. Now we got dogs littered all over the field. You didn't play us when we didn't have Roquan at that time. Now we do. You know what I mean? So it's really like your head and your mind should tell you the Ravens are going to win this game. But man, you just don't want to bet against Patrick Mahomes because I'm telling you, man, it just feels like 2018 Patriots all over again. But I still feel like the Ravens are going to win. What do you guys think? Ravens win?
Well, I already said the Ravens are going to win, and I'm not, and you fair weather Chiefs fans out there that are Bengals fans rooting for the Chiefs, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not, saying Mahomes is not, one of the goats of this football age right now. I respect Mahomes. Mahomes can do things that you would not expect to happen. I respect that man. Travis Kelce is a future Hall of Famer. So don't think that I'm thinking, the Chiefs, Chiefs are just going to get blown out of the water. I think it's going to be a 3-point, maybe a 4-point game of who wins this game. So, but unfortunately, like I said, I think the Ravens are going to take this one away from them. They're going to have to come into Baltimore and play against the Ravens, who are red hot. Defense is number one. I think they're number one in pretty much all categories in the NFL.
I think they're number one in scoring, more specifically, number one in total defense, but specifically scoring defense.
Yeah, and and don't get me wrong, I know the Chiefs have a hell of a defense. They've been playing really good defense all year long. But I'm kind of like, is that fire going to be lit with Patrick Mahomes and that offense? We'll see. We'll see.
Now, let's talk about the NFC side because I know we kind of went on a tear. We couldn't help it, man. We're Bengals fans. It's two of our bitter rivals playing against each other. I ain't gonna lie. I am a little salty that these two teams are playing in the AFC Championship. I'm a little salty. I'm not gonna lie, but you know what? At the end of the day, we didn't play well enough to get to this spot, so that's on us, not them. Anyways, the NFC, that's another great game too. Detroit, San Francisco. Didn't see Detroit making it this far, man. And I'm so proud of them. Like I saw them winning the playoff game initially, but I didn't see them coming here. And I keep reiterating how happy I am for this organization. Yeah. However, I do feel like that this is the 49ers chance to show that they they belong in the I'm going to win it all sweepstakes. We know Baltimore is in that conversation, but for the longest time, the majority of the season, we thought San Francisco was the team to beat in the Super Bowl to win it all. They were the number one favorites. But I just feel like that sort of kind of changed a little bit ever since they lost to the Ravens at home on Monday night. And I just feel like that they've been kind of slipping or losing that mystique about them since. They got in the way with a few close dubs here. The last playoff game against the Packers, I thought the Packers were going to get destroyed. They had a nice little upset victory against the Cowboys as a 7 seed on the road to the 2 seed. And I just thought that, okay, they're living with house money, but the 49ers were a different beast. And no, they almost won. So it's just really like, is this really more about the Green Bay Packers, or is San Fran really losing that edge to them? They still got dogs on that side of the ball, man. I'm not going to give up hope because they're still my Super Bowl pick. They're still my Super Bowl favorite, essentially. But you can't help but think that, man, this could be one of those games where you did not expect Detroit to make it to the Super Bowl. A lot like the 2021 Bengals made it to the Super Bowl and should have won it. I'm just throwing that out there. But I picked the 49ers to still win, man. And I hate to do that to Detroit fans because I'm all about them. But I'm picking the 49ers, man. It's on for theirs. Chase, Tim, let me know what you guys think.
Well, with this, there's all the reason to pick the 49ers in this one because top to bottom, I believe, a better roster. These guys have been in this championship game many times. They've been in it 2 years in a row and have come up short. They won it back in 2019 and all that. So they've been to, this will be the fourth out of the last 5 years that they've been to it. And then when they've been healthy, they've been to every single one, regardless of who's playing quarterback. And, just looking at what the talent that they have, the talent they have is incredible. And if there's any window they have to get it done, it's now. And the big question right now is if Deebo Samuel's going to play. If Deebo Samuel plays, then this team is on another level. The motor, can go to the highest level possible. If he's not playing, you saw it for 3 quarters on Saturday night against the Packers. It looked different. And I know Brock Purdy made some plays, down the field and stuff. And he did make some good ones. And then he also threw a couple of passes that could have went back for pick sixes. But, nonetheless, it was a very close game with the Packers. I still think the Niners are, they're definitely favored. They're definitely the pick and everything. However, Detroit, they just keep finding ways, man. I'll tell you that their red zone defense has stood up. They've stood to the task this postseason. Their run defense is one of the best in the National Football League, and that's the pride of the San Francisco 49ers. And, being able to not really eliminate, but just, kind of make that Niners run offense stall a bit and put the focal point on Brock Purdy. The back end of the Detroit Lions, their secondary isn't all that great. It's a young core that's, a bit inconsistent, but all they need to do is just make a couple of plays and, get a couple of turnovers here and there. If they're able to get pressure on Brock Purdy, it's going to be a big thing. They have to control line scrimmage on both sides of the football. And that's normally how you win football games regardless. So it's honestly bread and butter. But you know what? With my brother being a Detroit Lions fan, with the 2021 energy that's running high from us being Bengals fans, and I'll take the Bengals out of it. You know what? Big Cat fans stick together. I'm going with the freaking Detroit Lions win this game. I'm gonna just go hope on it. I don't even care.
I love it, man. I love it.
Oh, and the Ravens. Man. I picked the Ravens in the other one. I don't think I made the pick, but the Ravens, I think they're gonna win on Sunday as well.
All right, Tim, it's on you, man. I know. Give me your takes. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't like the 49ers. I've never liked the 49ers. I've watched Joe Montana and the 49ers beat the Bengals twice in the Super Bowl. I've never been a 49ers fan. Yeah, I was a Joe Montana fan. I know Jerry Rice is a GOAT conversation. But I don't like the 49ers. 49ers fans are like Seahawks fans. They're this all the time. I hear it all the time. Living over here on the West Coast, they just jaw. I know the 49ers have done great things over the many, many years, the many decades. They've had great players. They've had Hall of Famers. They've had Hall of Fame coaches. But I'm tired of them. Tired, boss. I'm just dog tired.
You want to see some new blood in there, huh?
I do. I look at the 49ers team. Brock Purdy, he's a game manager. That's what he is. Everybody's like, oh, Brock Purdy. Oh, he led that drive, and they won against the Green Bay Packers. By how many points did you win? Because you should have blown the doors off of them, regardless if Deebo was in there or not. You should have blown the doors off of the Green Bay Packers. I was actually, to be honest with you guys, I was rooting for the Green Bay Packers to win because I want to see the underdog. I want to see the underdog come into their house and win. Now look at the Detroit Lions. Right up 75. They're like a home team away from home. Drive right up 75 and you're up in Detroit. I've watched Barry Sanders have a career of his life and just quit football because the Detroit way was not the Detroit way it is today. At the beginning of the year, last year after the season ended, I picked the Detroit Lions to win the NFC North. Oh, no, you're crazy. You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Watch what Dan Campbell does. Watch what Jared Goff does. And let's see what this Detroit Lions do. Am I surprised that they are in the position that they're in right now? Not really. Not really. Do they have a better team than the 49ers? You got a possible, I'm a running back guy. You guys know that. 49ers have a possible MVP in a running back, future Hall of Famer in CMC. Brock Purdy, like I said, is a game manager. Debo Sanders, who knows if he's going to play or not. Brandon Ayuk, we've seen what he can do. We've seen what he did against the Bengals, but the Bengals still had the formula to shut down CMC. George Kittle, possible future Hall of Fame tight end. Then that defense, every person pretty much on that defensive line and the linebackers are Pro Bowlers. Bosa, Fred Warner, Armstead, Greenlaw, Chase Young. They got a hell of a defense. They have the formula to beat the Lions. But I'm going to stop you right there. I'm picking the Detroit Lions to upset and stop the 49ers in their path. Because we watched the 49ers 3 weeks in a row get beat during the regular season without Debo Sanders, without what's his name, the left tackle for the 49ers.
Trent Williams.
Without Trent Williams. Trent Williams is, he's been in the league for 14, 15 years. He's like the old man on the offensive line, future Hall of Famer. But I think Hutchinson's going to get a couple sacks against Brock Purdy, which doesn't happen much. Purdy usually doesn't get sacked very much unless you have the right formula, and we've seen him get sacked a lot in certain games. But I'm going to pick the Detroit Lions, not only because they're a home team away from home for us, because they're, like I said, they're right up 75, and the fact that I want to see the 49ers get beat. Go Detroit.
I'm really excited to be the odd man again this pick here, because we all want to see Detroit, finish the job. There's no jealous bone in my body if their franchise was to get a Super Bowl victory over us and we haven't gotten ours yet. Dude, you can't say enough great things about what Detroit has done. So look, man, I'm happy for Detroit. Even though I'm not picking them to win this game, I still feel like that I would not be surprised if an upset happened. And quite frankly, I'll be happy if it were to happen. So look, I'm standing on an island here with this pick. I'm happy though to be that guy for now. But it should make up for a great championship weekend. I hope it's not a blowout. Let's just make both games good games. Last year, we had the blowout with 49ers and the Eagles. We were rescued because the Bengals and the Chiefs played a great AFC championship game that almost went overtime. But nonetheless, bro, let's just make it great games on both sides, please. So but that wraps up about our conversation with our conference championship preview. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to go back to some Bengals, because this is a Bengals podcast. We're going to go a little bit quicker now.
Oh boy.
But we're doing some position grades with offensive and defensive line. We're going to grade the trenches. So here's what I want you guys to do. Chase and Tim, I want you guys to give me your individual grade for the O-line and the D-line, and give me your total grade for what you will grade both units combined. Okay?
Yeah.
So I want you guys to go forward. Chase first.
Offensive line this year, D+. I would say, or I'd say D+. Defensive line, yeah, you also factor in the pass rush, which was really Trey Hendrickson. I think that saves it from being an F. So I give him a D. I think the trenches were terrible this year. I think the overall grade for both trenches were a D-. I thought that it was horrible. It was bad to watch, is all I'll say, on both sides of the football. The reason why we lost a lot of games. The reason why we lost 8 games.
Sure.
We couldn't win in the trenches.
Tim, you're in agreement?
I do agree with him to a certain extent, but only the reason why, his offensive grade is a D, or offensive line as a D, I agree with him. But the defensive line, even though we didn't have very good rush defense, but even though Trey was there, I'm going to give them a C minus, not a D, but a C minus.
Fair.
And of course, overall a D. It's got to get better. I want to give Jonah Williams, props this year. He played probably his best of his career at right tackle. That's my opinion. You guys might not agree with me, but I think I think this is the best of his career at right tackle. And hopefully we can just grow and get better next year because we don't spend all that money for nothing.
I'm going to have to agree with both of you as far as like the total grade is a D combined for both units. For me, I actually kind of went in reverse order of yours, Tim. I actually gave the O line a C minus grade, but the D line a D minus, which basically evens it out as a D. And the reason is exactly almost similar to what you both guys have said. I don't think the O line, I think it could have been better, had better play calling. You can talk about that. But
yeah,
the run game, like I just feel like that they just couldn't run block effectively, And when it came down to obvious pass protection situations, there were just key things that just stuck out like a sore thumb. And it was just like, really? Especially the interior pressure up the middle. Alice Kappa, Cordell Volson, and Ted Karras, that's your longest tenure unit right there. They didn't even have any injuries throughout the whole entire season. And that still happened as many times as it did when it came to pressure, when it came to sacks. Yeah, we could talk about how many times Joe Burrow liked to drop back and throw, but dude, that's still not good, But they also weren't horrifically bad like people keep making them out to be. But overall, the reason why I give them the grade that I give, and same with the D line, because we obviously know about is Trey Henderson and literally nobody else. It's just simulated pressures from here. But I'm also going to give a little small shout out to BJ Hill. He was good. He got some turnovers and a couple sacks in there. But the reason why overall I give them a D is because it's simple. Look at the amount of wins that they have in the AFC North. It would have been 0 had the Browns not set all their starters and backup starters and backup to those backup starters in Week 18. It would have been 0. We would not have won a single game in the AFC North. That is literally should be an F right there in and of itself. But you did make up for it because you literally swept the entire NFC gauntlet that was on your schedule, going 4-0 against the NFC West, and you beat the Vikings. So that does make up for some of it. But at the end of the day, in order to compete with the big dogs, you are a big dog in the AFC North Division, regardless if it's a last place finish or not. Everybody knows you are because of who you got at quarterback. But let's start kind of evolving the game plan and the narrative to stop thinking about Joe Burrow only. Now you got to start thinking about these big dogs on the trenches, the big uglies, as what B-Dirt likes to call it. So, and we just feel like we just don't have enough of them. I love the Orlando Brown Jr. signing, but he didn't really have that great of a year, even though I'm still very high on OBJ Jr. So I still think that he's going to be really great for many years to come, as long as he's still with us, of course. But Jonah Williams, I also agree. I think he had a really good, solid season as a right tackle. And I wish him well because it's obvious he's going to move on in free agency to another team. There's no chance the Bengals re-sign him. At least that's my early prediction. But a D is a grade that we all can agree upon. So, Chase, I know you got a comment.
So, the thing is with the AFC North, I mean, if you want to win football games in this bloodbath of the salty spittoon division, I mean, you gotta be able to win in the trenches. And it's a very alarming stat that everybody in this division, the Ravens, Steelers, and Browns, everyone ran for 115 yards or more per game as a team. And the Bengals were below 90 yards. Like, that gap is ridiculous. And those, that's a 30, 35-yard gap. And that's the difference of another drive that stays alive and stuff. And that's the difference in third down conversion, because the Bengals in 2022, they were one of the best third down teams in all of football, around 45%, because they were in third and short, and there were times they were able to run the football well enough. And that's a big thing, though. Running the football and stopping the run are basics in the game of football. If you can't be good at the basics, you will not be a playoff team and you will not get to the Super Bowl like you want to. So the moment that you're able to go back and you're able to diagnose that and you're able to actually have a plan for action and actually go out there and do it with an elite quarterback, then you will be competing for years to come. But until that moment, until they start doing stuff, it's not going to happen. Hopefully the Bengals get this thing right. We win the line of scrimmage, and then we can win a lot more games going in the future.
It's a mic drop segment right there. And quite frankly, I can't say anything better than myself other than any final thoughts. It's championship weekend.
Go
we know
Lions.
who we rooting or who we're not rooting for. All right, we're not
Go
going to go into that
Lions.
conversation again.
Go Lions. I'm ready to eat food. There we go.
Yeah, like me, I'm just looking for forward to some great football.
Yeah.
Like you said, I really don't want to see teams get blown out this weekend. Would I like to see a Chiefs blowout? I would love to see that because it's the Chiefs. But I want to see some great football. I want to see, the final results. Who's going to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Who's going to the Super Bowl? Hopefully, like we said, it's the Lions and the Ravens. Furthermore, that's all I got, bro. Who dey?
Most definitely, man. And I thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Chase. Thank you, Tim, for once again joining us here on an episode of Run Through the Jungle. Have fun, be safe out there. Championship Sunday. We're one more step close to the Super Bowl and getting ready to talk about that. But thank you so much. This has been your boy Justin Lacey on the ones and twos. I say that like I'm a DJ when I'm really not. But tune in next time when we are running through the jungle.